You may have a few cans of food sitting in your cabinet, not to eat every day, just there for convenience, for when you're tired, for days when you don't feel like cooking. And it's possible you've opened those cans for years without ever thinking to take a second look. This video is not saying that all canned foods are bad. It is not asking you to throw everything out of your kitchen. The only thing we need to do today is clearly separate this, which cans quietly wear down the body over the years, and which ones can be kept if you're forced to use them. This list is not based on fear. It is based on how food is actually processed, how it is eaten in real life, and on many comments from people who have lived long enough to look back. If you are over 50, or entering a stage where your body no longer tolerates things the way it used to, watch until the very end, because there are foods so familiar that you have never once questioned them. And we begin with the first item, 10. Canned, sterilized sausages, the smallest can, the biggest risk for people over 50. This is the smallest canned item on the shelf. No knife needed, no strong teeth required. Open the lid and eat immediately. It is so familiar that many people see it as just a quick snack and never think to examine it more closely. What's inside the can is not meat in the way we usually understand it. It is not a cut of meat, and it is not cooked ground meat. It is an ultra-finely ground meat mixture, processed until no muscle fiber structure remains, mixed with water, salt, phosphates, stabilizers, and additives, then molded to look like meat. The soft texture is not because it is easy to eat, but because the natural structure of the meat has already been completely destroyed beforehand. After this step, the entire mixture is sterilized at very high temperatures inside a sealed can. The goal is long shelf life and microbial safety, but in exchange, much of the food's original biological value is no longer intact. What remains is mainly denatured protein, very high sodium levels, and substances that help the product hold its shape over long periods of time. This is exactly the group of foods that the World Health Organization classifies as processed meats linked to cancer when consumed regularly. Not because of a single meal, but because of quiet accumulation over many years. What many people fail to notice is how this food is eaten. The can is small, so it's usually finished in one sitting. It's eaten quickly, so there's no sense of overeating. The entire load of sodium, along with color-preserving nitrites and structure-holding phosphates, enters the body within minutes. For people over 50, especially when the heart, kidneys, and blood pressure are no longer as adaptable as before, the body absorbs a level of strain that the person eating it may not immediately feel. Many people say they've eaten this for decades and feel fine. That may be true, but others only begin to notice changes when they reach this age. Fatigue comes more easily. Blood pressure becomes harder to control. A general sense of decline appears without a clear cause. Not because of one can today, but because of the same kind of cans repeated over many years. If you look back at your own food cabinet, you may have once seen this as a convenient, cheap, and familiar item. The question is, at this stage of life, do you still want to consider it a harmless choice? Or have you noticed your body reacting differently after meals like this? 9. Canned pasta, ravioli, the item that makes many people believe they're still eating a normal meal. No one opens this can feeling like they're eating emergency food. When the lid pops open, the smell of tomato sauce rises. The pasta sits neatly in the sauce, and a familiar thought appears in your mind. At least it's a meal. That very thought allows this item to pass through every mental warning barrier. But this is not food created to nourish the body. This is a meal designed to survive. The pasta has to withstand years of sitting still without breaking down. The sauce has to hold its color and smell despite being cooked and reheated repeatedly. The meat inside doesn't need to be fresh. It only needs to keep its shape. Everything is calibrated so that after heating, you still recognize it as pasta. Not so that your body recognizes it as living food. There is something very few people notice. Foods like this fall into the ultra-processed category, and large studies around the world show that this group of foods is linked to millions of new cancer cases each year, not because of one can, but because they are used repeatedly as regular meals over long periods of time. The problem is not eating it once, but treating it as a familiar solution. The most troubling point is the role this item plays in daily life. People don't eat canned ravioli as a side. They eat it instead of lunch, instead of dinner. Sometimes as the only meal of the day when they're tired, busy, or no longer have the energy to cook. And when one can becomes a meal, what you're maintaining is not just fullness, but a habit. Many people only notice the difference after a few years. After eating, they no longer feel energized, only heavy, full, but quickly fatigued. And gradually, the body no longer responds the way it used to. There is no sudden collapse, just a very slow slide, slow enough for you to get used to it. If you look back at the moments when you chose this food, they were likely your most exhausting, busiest days. The question is, on days like that, are you nourishing your body or simply filling it so you can keep going? And has your body ever given you a signal after meals like this? 8. Canned fruit in syrup. The item that makes many people believe they're doing something good for their health. If there is one item on this list that almost no one guards against, it's canned fruit. Not because it's convenient, but because it carries a very strong belief. Fruit can't possibly be bad. Many people buy this for older adults. Easy to eat, soft, mildly sweet. No heavy chewing required. It feels caring. And because of that sense of reassurance, almost no one reads the label the way they would read the label on sweets. But the truth is very simple. What keeps fruit in a can from spoiling is not freshness, but the concentrated sweet environment surrounding it. When fruit is cooked at high temperatures for canning, most of its natural vitamins are already gone. What remains is the familiar shape and a layer of syrup strong enough to preserve it for years. Many people say they eat canned fruit regularly and don't notice any problems. That's true, because this is not the kind of food that causes immediate reactions. It quietly becomes a steady source of sugar, entering the body under the name healthy. The danger of this item is not in a single can. It's in the fact that you never place it in the same category as sweets. It's eaten after meals, eaten casually, eaten because it's believed to be good. And that unconscious trust is why many people never count it toward their daily sugar intake. After disguised industrial meals like canned pasta, canned fruit becomes the industrial sweet that is exempt from suspicion. Two different items, but one shared trait. You consume them with a sense of reassurance. And perhaps the real question isn't whether this item should be sold, but this. If you eat it every day for many years because you believe you're making a good choice, is that belief worth re-examining? 7. Canned soup, the thing you turn to when your body is at its weakest. No one eats this when they're feeling good. Canned soup usually appears at very specific moments. When you're sick, when you're completely exhausted, when your throat is dry, when your stomach no longer wants to work. It carries a sense of comfort, light, easy to swallow, no thinking required, and because of that, almost no one questions it. Many people believe this is a good food, Soup is associated with recovery, care, rest. But what few people notice is that what you're eating is no longer soup in the traditional sense. It is a product that has been fully cooked, concentrated, and then stabilized to survive on a shelf for many years. In that process, the soup is not designed to nourish a weakened body. It is designed not to separate, not to change flavor, not to cause immediate discomfort, no matter how many times it's reheated. Vegetables don't need to be alive anymore. Meat doesn't need to be fresh. The most important thing is that everything remains stable. The point worth thinking about lies in the timing. When you're healthy, your body has enough reserve to handle imperfect foods. But when you're tired or recovering, that's when the digestive and immune systems are at their most sensitive. And at that very moment, you're taking in something that has lost almost all of its natural characteristics, leaving only structure and flavor preserved by technology. After industrial meals in cans, after foods labeled as convenient, canned soup is mass-produced comfort. It doesn't appear when you're strong, but when you're weak. And that is exactly why this item needs to be re-examined. If you've ever opened a can of soup at a moment when your body was at its weakest and believed you were doing something good, ask yourself this: after that meal, did you truly recover faster, or was it just temporary comfort before everything returned to the same state? In what situations do you most often eat canned soup? 6. Canned beans, the healthy food many people rely on for years. This is the item that surprises many people the most when it appears on this list. Because in the minds of many families, beans are always considered healthy, filling, low in fat, high in fiber, even seen as a meat alternative. Canned beans are even more convenient. Open the lid, rinse, use immediately. The problem is not the beans themselves. The problem is how they exist inside the can. To make beans evenly cooked, soft, and able to sit on store shelves for many years, they must be pressure cooked and soaked in a salted solution. During that process, some minerals dissolve into the liquid. And the irony is that many people pour that liquid away, then eat what remains with the belief that they're choosing a healthy food. The result is that you feel full, but not truly nourished. There is no immediate discomfort, no clear feeling of heaviness, just a body that slowly becomes more fatigued over time, without you connecting it to the meals. What's worth thinking about is frequency of use. Many people use canned beans as a long-term dietary base, mixed into salads, cooked quickly, added to main dishes. When a processed food is used that regularly, the digestive system is forced to work with something that has been repeatedly altered by heat, salt, and time. Canned beans are not something that must be eliminated entirely. But they are also not a nutritional pillar to lean on week after week, especially when the body is no longer young. Do you often use canned beans because you believe you're making a better choice? And looking back, is your body actually healthier? Or has it simply grown accustomed to eating this way because it's convenient? 5. Canned tuna. The problem is not the fish. The problem is the accumulation you don't see. Tuna is a large, long-lived fish that sits high on the food chain. That means mercury doesn't disappear after a single meal. It gradually accumulates in the brain and kidneys over the years. You don't feel this right away. You notice it much later, when memory feels slower, the head feels heavier, or the body feels more drained without a clear reason. Many people believe canning makes it safe because it's heated. But there is one thing that does not disappear with cooking or canning: histamine. When fish is not properly chilled from the very beginning, histamine forms and stays there. No strange smell, no unusual taste. You open the can, Eat as usual, and then come the headaches, facial flushing, rapid heartbeat, restlessness, or anxiety. And many people never connect those symptoms to tuna. Some people eat it their entire lives without noticing anything. Others only need a few servings a week for their nervous system to start reacting. Every body absorbs the impact differently. Another factor few people pay attention to is packaging. Tuna is a low-acid food that depends entirely on an airtight can. Botulinum toxin is extremely rare, but when it occurs, the consequences are severe. And the troubling part is that there is no way to detect it by smell or taste. Tuna still provides protein. It still contains omega-3s. But when a food is considered healthy, people tend to eat it more frequently than the body can reasonably tolerate. If you've ever felt a heavier head or unexplained restlessness after convenient tuna meals, try stopping for a few weeks and listen to your body. And if you find this kind of straightforward analysis useful, hit like to support it and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Because from here on, the list moves into territory few people talk about. 4. Canned chili, the rich, hearty dish the body pays for the slowest. This is a food that rarely raises suspicion because it tastes good. Warm, bold, with meat, with beans, and it feels like a proper meal. Open the can, heat it up, and many people finish the whole thing. Canned chili belongs to the low-acid food category, so to be safe, it must undergo very high heat processing and extremely tight control. A single mistake in sealing can create risk with no smell, no taste. There is no way to detect it through the senses. But the more important issue lies in the formula. To ensure that every can of chili opens years later still thick, still satisfying, still not separated, manufacturers often rely on stabilizers and technical ingredients. Sodium levels are usually high, and sometimes sugar or starch is added to preserve flavor and texture. This is not a meal cooked for a body in recovery, but a formula designed to remain identical after many years on a shelf. When you're younger, the body can handle it. After 50, things change. Kidneys filter more slowly, blood vessels become less flexible, and the digestive system struggles more with foods that are salty, dense, and heavily engineered. There is no sudden shock, just a heavier, more frequent sense of fatigue. On what kind of days do you usually eat canned chili? When it's cold, when you're tired, or when you don't feel like cooking? And after those meals, does your body truly feel better? Or just full enough to keep going? 3. Canned green vegetables, especially soft, leafy greens. The green food that causes the most people to let their guard down. This looks like the safest item on the entire list. Green, soft, easy to eat, no fat, no sweetness. Many people choose it for older adults because they think, how could eating vegetables be wrong? But the problem is not the vegetables. The problem is what has to happen for vegetables to sit quietly in a can for many years. Soft, leafy greens must be cooked very thoroughly when canned. Not to taste better, but to keep their color and prevent spoilage. In that process, most water-soluble vitamins leave the leaves. What remains is mainly soft structure and packing liquid. You eat it and feel light, but the nourishment your body receives is no longer what you imagine. One detail few people notice is that many canned vegetables fall into the low-acid food category, meaning they rely entirely on sterilization processes and airtight sealing. If something goes wrong, there is no strange smell, no unusual taste, no clear warning. For some people over 50, especially those who have had kidney or bone issues, frequent use can create strain that you don't immediately connect to meals. The greatest danger of this food lies in one thing. It is eaten with a strong sense of reassurance. Have you ever eaten canned vegetables believing you were taking care of your health, yet afterwards still felt tired and not truly restored? And if you switch to a different form, does that feeling change? 2. Ready-to-eat canned fish in sauce, when the fish is no longer the biggest problem. Many people think that as long as they avoid tuna, they're fine. But in reality, ready-to-eat canned fish in sauce is the category that quietly puts long-term strain on the body without drawing attention. When fish is mixed with tomato sauce, oil-based sauce, or heavily seasoned sauces, you are no longer eating fish. You are eating a complete industrial formula. Fish is naturally perishable. To survive for years inside a can, it must go through multiple layers of processing: high heat, salt, stabilizers, flavor enhancers. The sauce is not there to make it better. It is there to mask changes over time. And it is that very layer of sauce that makes it harder for people to recognize how their body is reacting. Many comments say they feel restless, overheated, or heavy-headed after eating these kinds of canned fish, but never think about the cause. Not because fish is bad, but because the fish no longer stands alone. It has been pulled into a system of additives and high sodium, designed for stability, not nourishment. Have you ever noticed that you feel lighter after eating fresh fish, yet heavier after ready-to-eat canned fish, even when the portion isn't large? 1. Canned broth base, the item no one considers food, yet it enters the body the most. Very few people think of canned broth as a food. It's just something that makes soup taste better, makes porridge richer, saves you from simmering bones. Each use seems small, and because no one counts it as a meal, almost no one notices how much of it is repeatedly entering the body. Canned broth or canned broth base is usually designed for flavor consistency. Open it and it smells rich. Heat it up and it tastes right, every time exactly the same. But to achieve that, the richness very often comes from high sodium, and sometimes from flavoring components that mimic the sensation of long simmering. Not always absolutely bad. The issue is this: it appears far too often in the kitchen. Many people say, "I eat lightly, but my blood pressure is still hard to control." Sometimes the salt isn't in the piece of meat, but in what was added to the pot with the thought that it's just broth. It doesn't make you full. It doesn't make you feel heavy right away. But it quietly raises your taste threshold, making later meals need to be stronger to feel satisfying. And your body carries that load every day without you realizing it. If you want to try a very honest test, cook for a few days without using canned broth, seasoning only in a basic way. Many people are surprised by how intensely they crave strong flavor. That's not your fault. That's how habits are formed. The question isn't, is canned broth allowed or not? It's this: at this stage of life, do you still want the thing that enters your body most often to be the thing you control the least? Like and subscribe to the channel to continue with the important part. And at this point, I want to say something fair. Not every can on the shelf is a trap. There are products designed to survive through salt, sugar, sauces, and flavorings. But there are also products that last a long time simply because they are naturally time-resistant, without needing to hide much. The two items below are not miracle foods, and they are not meant to be eaten every day like fresh food. But if you are forced to keep canned foods at home because you're busy, because you're preparing ahead, or because your health doesn't allow you to cook regularly, these are two choices that betray the body the least, provided you choose the right type. 1. Small fish canned in water, the safest option if you must keep canned food at home. After looking through many cans designed to survive on additives, salt, and flavorings, this is one of the very few items that doesn't need to hide its nature. Small fish such as sardines, herring, and anchovies have short life cycles and sit low on the food chain, so mercury accumulation is far lower than in large fish. This is not a feeling of reassurance, but a real biological difference. The next important point is the canning method. Fish canned in water means just fish and water, sometimes with a small amount of salt. No sauce, no industrial oils, no sugar, no added flavorings. When you open the can, you see exactly what you are eating, with no layer of flavor masking the true quality of the fish. Unlike ready-to-eat fish in sauce, this type does not force manufacturers to mask odors or preserve flavor over many years. The fish stands on its own. If the fish isn't good, you'll notice immediately. And it is precisely that transparency that makes it safer over the long term. Of course, this is not something to eat every day like fresh fish, but in moments when you can't shop, can't cook, or need a backup source of protein, small fish canned in water is the option that places the least strain on the body of someone over 50, especially the liver, kidneys, and nervous system. If you keep only one can of fish in your pantry, it should be one with no sauce, no oil, nothing to mask its true nature. And perhaps the final question is not, are canned foods good or bad? But this: when you need it most, do you want your body to process something honest, or something that has been carefully concealed? 2. Pure canned pumpkin, 100% pumpkin puree, one of the rare foods that doesn't need to hide its nature to last. In the world of canned foods, very few items retain their true nature after years on a shelf. Pure pumpkin is one of them. It doesn't need artificial color, doesn't need odor masking, doesn't need structural manipulation. Once cooked and sealed, what remains in the can is still pumpkin, not a disguised formula. The most important factor is the simplicity of its ingredients. A proper can of pumpkin contains only one thing: pumpkin. No sugar, no sauce, no flavorings, no additives to save the taste. And precisely because it doesn't try to pretend to be something indulgent, it doesn't trick the palate or pull you into overeating habits. For people over 50, pumpkin provides value in a very quiet way. Fiber helps the digestive system stay regular, potassium supports blood pressure, and the soft texture makes it easy to digest without causing heaviness. It doesn't make you feel stronger immediately after a meal, but it also doesn't slowly drain your strength over the years. The key thing to watch is how you choose it. Only use products clearly labeled 100% pumpkin, not pumpkin pie filling. Use it as a supporting ingredient, mixed into soup, added to porridge, or eaten alongside other foods, not as a main meal. In the world of canned foods, some items survive by hiding. Others survive because they don't need to hide anything at all. Pure pumpkin belongs to the second group, and that is why it deserves to be kept. This list is not meant to make you afraid of canned foods, but to help you better distinguish between what is convenient and what is worth relying on. At a certain age, the body no longer reacts strongly enough to warn you right away, but instead quietly accumulates strain and slowly loses strength. Looking back at what you eat every day is not turning your back on the past, but a way to move forward more lightly. And perhaps the most important thing is not what you have eaten over the past decades, but how you choose to treat your body from this point on.